This week on the GameCritics.com podcast, we are back. What have we been doing? Making babies and playing games. We're talking Infamous, UFC Undisputed, Broken Steel, Dead Space, and more. Plus, could we be more excited about Project Trico? The GameCritics.com podcast, the world's most fertile podcast, starts right now. Welcome to the show, everybody, and I guess the real question is, after 6 weeks away, do any of us remember how to do this? I don't even know if we're recording, frankly, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. I'm Tim Spaeth. All of your favorites are here, Chi-Kong Liu, Brad Gallaway, Mike Bracken, but before we get any further, the reason we were off, procreation. And now my kid is old news by now, so let's shine the spotlight for a moment on Mr. Gallaway. Proud father to a baby boy. Congratulations, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and thanks to everybody who sent in messages of hope and understanding over the last couple of weeks. I really appreciate it. My son, Whitaker, was born just about 3 weeks ago, and he is healthy and strong and doing really good. My wife, Gina, is doing fine as well, and believe it or not, I have been getting a pretty decent amount of sleep, so no complaints on my end. And, the best thing I have to say is that he is such a gamer, just like his daddy, that when I put him in my little baby backpack, he'll sit pretty contentedly and let me, plow through whatever it is I've got in the 360 at the moment. So we are definitely on the same page about that kind of stuff. So he's a great kid. Couldn't complain, couldn't be better. Wonderful, wonderful, and I love being a daddy. So thanks to everybody once again. And, hey, thanks for asking, Tim.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Congratulations to you. Let me ask you this. Has your son played any games yet? Has he finished anything?
Yeah, he was putting some time into Call of Duty, but, I told him at his age I didn't want him messing around the multiplayer that much, so I had to cut him off.
I understand. Yeah, my son finished 2 Human. I got him started early on that, so he's doing really well. So let's not forget the rest of our cast, fine fathers in their own right. Chi-Kong Liu, how have you been, sir?
Hey, Tim, been doing good, man. I really missed you guys, actually, during this hiatus, and congratulations to you both again. And I actually hope that fertility rubs off, because my wife and I are actually working on number 2, so it'd be kind of funny if she got pregnant, we got pregnant again also.
Are you going to be having sex right after this podcast?
No, no. My wife is not. She's working tonight, so that's not going to happen.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck then. Good luck. Keep us posted on that.
Send us an email. Get the Skype running.
Yeah. Do you want the video? You want a video, a streaming cam?
If it's not a hassle, sure.
I'll have to charge you though. So.
Oh, the $19.95 a month membership, eh? Up to your old tricks, eh?
This is getting way out of hand.
Yeah,
let's move on.
Suddenly we're spiraling out of control. The only man who can get us back on the wholesome path is Mike Bracken, the horror geek himself. Mike, can you save us?
I cannot save us, but I can assure you that I am not having any fucking children. So one of us will always be ready to go for this podcast while everyone else on the show with me is off procreating. So I'll just be here doing my usual shtick, hating the world, and being very warm and cuddly in the process. So
you sound warm and cuddly. You really
I am. Yeah. I am very warm and cuddly, but no more kids. That's a guarantee.
Well, just because some of us have been creating life doesn't mean we haven't been playing games, and that's the subject of our show this week, what we've been playing for the last 6 weeks. In other words, we're slumming it. Yeah, but at least we've tried to pick some titles that we've all been playing so that we can have a meaningful and insightful discussion as opposed to just a lecture. So look forward to that in just a moment, but before that, last week we saw the first footage from Project Trico in the form of a year-old proof-of-concept trailer. Now, Trico is the third game from Team Ico. They're the folks who previously brought us, well, Ico. and Shadow of the Colossus. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, we'll link to it in the show notes. Trailer has a boy, a big animal. It's pretty stunning. Guys, what did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, Tim, I'm actually a huge fan of Ueda's work, the guy who's kind of the brain behind Colossus and Ico. I really love everything he's done. I think he's just a real genius. And when I saw this trailer, I mean, it sounds really fanboyish and kind of silly, but I got like really, really excited. I don't want to say giddy, but I kind of got a little bit giddy, and I was like, man, whatever this guy does, like it really gets me really interested. Like it really sets me on fire, and I really, really am very curious to see what this game is going to be about. I mean, it looks obviously like kind of a progression based on what he's done earlier. I mean, it's got the same kind of visual style to it, and it looks like, companionship is once again going to be one of the central themes, although this time it's kind of flipped on its head, and it seems as though this large creature that's along with you is going to be, kind of the force, like, the friendly Colossus that goes along with you. So I'm really interested to see where this goes, and I mean, I'm going to buy it on day one. I don't have to see anything else about it. All I saw was this trailer. I'm ready with my $60 in hand. I'm going to be there.
This is where I come in with my gamer confession and confess that while I did play Ico, I still have not played Shadow of the Colossus. Despite owning a copy, I've just never gotten around to it in my backlog. But got a chance to check out the trailer, and my feelings are pretty much like Brad's. You can see there's a definite visual aesthetic recurring there from the earlier games. Even though I haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, I have seen footage of it. So looks interesting. I'm a little concerned about the giant flying rat that the kid's hanging out with, but other than that, everything looks pretty cool, and looking forward to seeing more on this one.
To be fair, though, Mike, I see kind of maybe what you're talking about with the rat, but to me, my first thought was it looked like more like a griffin. So, no disrespect to the team or anything. I don't want them to start thinking that, we're already anti the rat game, but I thought it was more.
Well, I certainly see the griffin angle, but every time I see that thing, it just looks like a giant fucking rat to me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm projecting.
It's your fear of rats.
It might be. The thing just creeps me out.
This coming from the horror geek.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're gonna talk about Dead Space in a little bit, where I'm like slicing limbs off things, but the giant rat in this trailer kind of freaks me out, so take that how you will.
Anyway, Mike, you kind of stole my line, Mike. Actually, I have it's a confession time for me as well. I played neither Ico or Shadow of the Colossus.
What?
Oh,
Dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, missing one of those, that was kind of iffy. I wasn't going to call Mike out on it, but gee, I could not let that slide. What the fuck, dude?
Sorry.
Two of the biggest games.
Yeah, missing both is rough.
Well, I do have them both in my collection, so I can go back and revisit it. And I've been always, of course, it's one of those that I always been meaning to do, and it's finally caught up with me. So I guess I'll have to finally bone up on it and get caught up. But
has that been like your secret shame this whole time? Like, have you avoided eco parties because you knew you had nothing to contribute?
It was pretty bad. I mean, I thought we were going to have a confession theme episode, and I was going to fess up then, but it's come up now. So yeah, I have to owe up to it, and I guess it's like 10 lashes or something, right?
You guys are both on notice, man. Seriously.
Well, I'm proud to say I have played both Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. I have not finished them, and the reason I haven't finished is with both of those games I struggle with the controls, particularly with Shadow of the Colossus, so I'm hoping that Trico resolves some of the control issues. I just need something more precise and less floaty. But I thought the trailer looked great, and Brad, you've finished both games, so you can tell me if this is likely to happen, but my prediction is that the dog thing, what I think of as Falcor from the Neverending Story, my prediction is that thing is going to die before the end of the game, and it's going to be terribly, terribly sad. Is that likely to happen based on the endings of the
that's
games?
funny that you say that, Tim, because I think that actually is highly likely to happen, but also in the spirit of the other games, I think that it'll come back. If you watch the credits all the way, I think it'll be reborn, it'll be revived. The kid will have some kind of memento from it. He'll take a blood sample and clone it. I mean, something will happen, and it'll come back. Because, I got to say that as much as I admire Ueda's games, I feel like he's really copped out in both of the endings to both Colossus and Eco. Like neither one ended the way that I thought it should have, especially Eco, which I was prepared to say had one of the best endings of all time until you got to the end, and then I'm like, fuck it, never mind. So we'll see.
I think the dog creature's abdomen will burst, and then 1,000 little tiny dog creatures will come out, like the end of Charlotte's Web, and then he will like befriend and raise all of them, and then they will make 1,000 friends, and the cycle will continue.
Yeah, he'll be covered in those little creatures, and he'll look uplifted towards the sky, and the camera will pan out, and it'll just be a happy ending for everybody.
And there will be flying rats for every sewer in the fantasy world of that game.
Every child should have his own flying rat.
Exactly.
Well, the hope is that we're going to get some sort of official announcement about Project Trico, including maybe whatever its real name is going to be at E3 in a couple weeks, so we'll look forward to that. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, how we spent our hiatus. Stay with us. All right, we are back talking about the games we've been playing over the last few weeks. Let's start with Infamous. This is the new open-world sandbox action adventure from Sucker Punch Studios. It's exclusive to the PS3, which means, alas, I can't play it, but some of you have. Lots of hype around this one, lots of electricity. But is the hype warranted? Brad, tell me about Infamous.
Well, it is, like you say, the new big game coming down the pipe for the PS3. It's from Sucker Punch, who, as far as I'm concerned, have never made a bad game. I've played every game they've made, and I've loved every single one. So, of course, my expectations were pretty high for Infamous. And after playing the demo, which is available on the PS Network, I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag, I think. Basically, you play a guy who's got these electricity superpowers from some mysterious explosion, and then the city that you're in gets divided up into like 3 sections with, gangs and stuff. I mean, it's kind of familiar stuff to anybody who's played an open world game in the last couple years. There's a good versus evil kind of karma progression, so you can change your character based on your actions and that whole thing. So nothing really mind-blowing. But Sucker Punch has really always been about production and about smoothness and about polish. I mean, their games are really head and shoulders above a lot of other games out there. And after playing through the demo, I don't know. I gotta say I wasn't quite feeling it. The main character, for me, I don't even know what his name is, but he's kind of lacking charisma. He doesn't visually seem very interesting to me. He's just kind of this bike messenger dude with a shaved head and jacket. And, he didn't really look like leading man material to me, and so I wasn't really that jazzed about being him. He's not really as iconic as Sly Cooper was, or even Rocket from the N64 game, if anybody's played Rocket Robot on Wheels, which was fantastic.
He's like the dude from Mark Echo's getting up, right?
Even Train was even more memorable than this guy is. I don't even know. He's just this guy. He's just a guy. And right. I mean, maybe that's part of it. Maybe they'll use that as a theme when you play the game or something. But to me, looking at it, I'm like, man, this guy's kind of boring. Yeah. But it was pretty cool to get some of the electricity powers. You can like grind on power cables, and you can shoot dudes with your electricity bolts and do all those kinds of things. But to be honest, I found that there was like almost a little bit too much combat in it for me. The demo lets you play through, I think it's 3 or 4 complete missions, and you can also tool around the city a little bit. And I don't know, it felt like a little loosey-goosey with the controls, and it felt like there was a little bit too much of an emphasis on combat. It didn't feel as tightly tuned as their last games have been. Now, granted, this is just a demo, so I could completely say something different after I played the full version, but it didn't seem like an instant home run the way I thought it was going to be. And with Prototype coming out pretty soon, it might be in some danger. There's a lot of positive talk about Prototype, which is another open world superhero-ish kind of game coming out. They're almost the exact same game, really, when you look at it. So I don't know. What did you guys think?
By the way, what was the last game that Sucker Punch did anyway?
The last one they did was Sly Cooper 3.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. How many years ago was that, do you think?
I don't know exactly, but it was a couple years ago. I think the first one, if I remember correctly, the first one they did was Rocket, Robot on Wheels for the N64. Nobody played it, but it was pretty fantastic. And then they did the Sly Cooper trilogy back to back, so 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And this is their first break away from the colorful, platformy kind of genre, which is their forte. So.
Right. I mean, being that it's their first effort away from the furry genre, I'd say I had a pretty good positive reaction to it. I liked the hero's sort of superhero vibe to it. I sort of didn't pick up on that until I played the demo. But the whole gang, locked the city down, Escape from New York was kind of very generic in that regard. But, I still think the whole heroes and ordinary people with superpowers concept may play out pretty well if they take advantage of that. And, I agree with the loosey-goosey controls. It felt a little odd at times, but overall still, pretty tight into demo, like you said. I'm looking forward to it, I think.
Yeah, I think in this game, I think a lot of it is going to hinge on the story. I have heard tell that the story is, better than most. And in the past with the Sly Cooper games, I mean, the story has always been pretty good and kind of given everything a little bit more of motivation and have really driven the characters home. So I hope that they do really knock it out of the park. I really want them to succeed. I think they've done their body of work is excellent. It's spotless. So I have a hard time thinking that it's not going to be a good game, but I have a feeling it's maybe not going to be superb the way that their other games have been. But I mean, we'll see. I'm definitely pulling for them, though. I don't mean to sound like I'm down on it, but
sorry. I was going to say, do any of you know if Sucker Punch has some sort of exclusivity deal with Sony? Because I went to download this on the Xbox Live Marketplace. Mike, I think you did too. Only to be disappointed that it's not multi-platform. And I was really, really surprised. This seems like the kind of game that would be, particularly since a lot of people are calling it the spiritual successor to Crackdown, but I can't play it on the system I played Crackdown on.
I don't know if they have a specific deal per se, but I know that they have. I mean, they may not be a second party. I don't think that they are, but I know that they have very, very close ties with Sony and have ever since Sly Cooper #1. So I'm not surprised that it's an exclusive, but I think that in the future we may see them breaking out of that. But I don't have any details on that right now.
Mm. Would you say it satisfies as a spiritual successor to Crackdown?
I think the concept is basically the same. I don't know. Well, it's hard to say because with Crackdown, you were the cop, the superpowered cop in the city, and really it was so open that there weren't really missions per se. It was just kind of like you clean up the city at your own discretion, and you just go about it at your own pace, and everything was really, really, really open. I mean, it was really one of the earlier games in the the kind of open world genre that we are so familiar with these days. It seems to me like it's more mission based, which I actually prefer. I don't like the Crackdown style so much, but I mean, we'll see. I've actually heard people say that Prototype is going to be a lot more similar to Crackdown than Infamous will be. But since Prototype is not out and there's no demo available for it, I mean, that's just pure speculation.
So will you, on day one, go out and buy this game, or will you rent it, or what sort of decision did the demo lead you to here?
Well, I hate to say it. I hate to say this, and I really didn't want to admit this, but prior to playing the demo, I was ready to buy it on day one because I'm a huge Sucker Punch fan, and I felt like, these guys can do no wrong. But after playing the demo, I think I'm going to maybe GameFly it. So, sorry. Sorry, Sucker Punch.
Chi, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach as well.
And for me, all you had to do was compare it to Crackdown to let me know that I need not waste $60 on it. So,
well, it sounds like it's not the PS3 system seller for me. So we will see. Next on our list of games is Broken Steel. Broken Steel is the third of now 5 announced DLCs for Fallout 3, a game that we love dearly here on this podcast.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Broken Steel is the one that raises the level cap finally from 20 to 30 and allows you to play past the original ending. It also revises that ending so that it allegedly makes more narrative and logical sense. Now, I will say it had the complete opposite effect on my ending, but Brad, I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts are. I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything. I'm going to speak in vague generalities, but in my ending, when I originally finished Fallout 3, I had a pretty satisfying ending. It was a pretty definitive end result, and I played as a very evil character, sort of the revenge-obsessed cannibal, as our longtime listeners will recall. So I didn't really have a lot of friends in the game. Nobody wanted to partner up with me. So when I got to the end and I had to do the task, it was pretty much up to me. And one of the endings that you get, and this is just one of many, so I'm not spoiling anything, is that your character passes away, we'll say. But I'm not going to say how, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But in the revised ending, he doesn't pass away. And in fact, there's now an epilogue tacked on after the end credits that basically says, "Oh no, you didn't actually die." Now, for me, this makes absolutely no sense because in the ending I got, there's a little montage, there's a narration that says, "You died. Definitively, you're dead." And then you run the credits, it says 2 weeks later, "No, you didn't." So actually, the ending makes less sense now to me. Brad, what was your experience with your new ending?
I had the exact opposite experience. When I went through Fallout, I played a good character. I was as good as you could possibly be. In fact, like one of the only achievements I don't have is for that mission where you need to kidnap one of the kids or whatever. I would not lower myself to do that mission, so that achievement goes unearned. But in my ending, the original ending prior to Broken Steel, it made no sense whatsoever. There was a huge continuity gap. It was totally illogical, and I was screaming at the screen, like, what the fuck is this? Like this, it blew my mind how stupid the ending was originally, and it was really sour for me. It left me feeling very dissatisfied, and I was really pissed because I felt like the central quest, should always be the best quest in any game, and it was actually, I think, probably one of the worst quests in Fallout 3. So I'm really glad that they fixed the ending because now, with the Broken Steel patch, it does make sense. They fixed the events, and you can now have a choice that you did not have earlier, and so the game player in me is satisfied with that. So I'm really glad to see that, and I'm also really glad to see that the level cap was raised. Although, to be perfectly honest, to Bethesda, I'm a little kind of cheesed off that even though they knew they were going to raise the level cap, I mean, they announced it when they originally announced all this download content. I'm a little pissed that they did not somehow save all the experience that you earned if you played through, Operation Anchorage and the Pit. When you first beat Fallout, like you can see on the experience meter that it starts counting towards a level 21, so I was kind of hoping that even though it wasn't implemented, that you would, start at Broken Steel, hear a big ka-ching, and then like all the experience you had gotten would, be cumulative and would be handed to you, but no. So, I mean, theoretically, I should already have surpassed like the level 30 cap, but since it didn't count any of those, and I had to start, from 20 with Broken Steel, I only finished up at like level 25 or something like that, so I was kind of disappointed, but I don't want to be like too much of a whiner, even though that's kind of my primary function on this show. So,
but yeah, and I finished about 25 as well, and it's terribly convenient that we now have 2 more downloadable contents to look forward to that will carry us eventually to 30. So I think you'll get there. But I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying. It seems like a lot of wasted effort, almost, all those kills that you didn't get credit for.
What about the new content?
It's a good question. The new content is essentially a new quest line, and it's really a very linear quest line. It amounts to just about 3 lengthy dungeon crawls. And I'll be honest, I think I'm getting tired of the dungeon crawls. It's basically combat, scavenge equipment, combat, scavenge equipment. There's really nothing new here, and I frankly found it very, very tedious. It's not until the last part of Broken Steel, the final area, that you're introduced to a completely new environment, you're given a completely new weapon. But the reality is, by the time I got there, I was so bored and sick of fighting things that I didn't really have the energy to explore it. I think had we just had that one area in the game, I would have really explored it completely and opened all the crates and the barrels, but I was just so tired and bored that I just went straight to the target and finished the expansion that way. I may go back and re-explore that area if it's even possible. But Brad, did you find the combat, all those dungeon crawls and the sewers and the buildings and the so forth? Did you find that tedious, or did you enjoy that?
No, I'm actually right with you, Tim. I was going to say I have been, even though I love Fallout 3, like I totally love it, like one of my favorite games in recent memory. I got to say that all of the download content has been kind of a letdown because, you know, one of the things that I liked, and I think that most people like about Fallout 3, is the role-playing aspect where you have a lot of choices, you get to talk to people, and, you know, you really kind of feel like it was a really well-realized world. You know, maybe not up to the standard of the previous Fallout games, but pretty good. You know, they did a pretty good job. And all of the downloads, Broken Steel included, have basically, like you said, been kind of like, you know, combat-focused. And really, I mean, combat's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love shooting the heads off of things and leaving people a bloody mess. I mean, that's a good time. But you can only do so much of that. And there's not very much dialogue. There's not very many choices to make. I mean, the Pit had a little bit of it, but not enough to satisfy me. And both Anchorage and Broken Steel have basically none. So I agree with you, Tim. It was a little bit disappointing. And I hope that for the next 2 downloads that come out, they really bring the choice back. I want to keep role-playing. I don't really want to just shoot stuff. I mean, like you said, the last area of Broken Steel was pretty cool. I liked that area, but I didn't explore anything. And honestly, I don't think there really was that much to explore. It's pretty much a straight shot. You kill a bunch of guys, you get to your objective. And while that part was pretty cool, like you said, like going through the subway tunnels and the buildings and stuff, it gets old. And I hope that they freshen it up for the next 2 downloads.
Yeah. I mean, I get that downloadable content is time-consuming, it's expensive, and it's probably most efficient just to create combat scenarios. So, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, like you said, the beauty of Fallout is the exploration, is the discovery, it's the choice. And there's really none of that. There's one choice at the very, very end of Broken Steel, and it does impact the game world. And I was very impressed with that it made such a significant change to the game world. But other than that, it's just fighting. And I think I've proved that I can go into VATS, target ahead, blow it up, go into VATS, target ahead, blow it up. I think I've pretty well got that down to a science. So
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. When you because we can now go to level 30, we can now pick more perks at each level. When I get to the perk screen, I pretty much stare blankly. None of the perks are appealing to me anymore. There's nothing I want. I can't think of anything interesting there. My stats are pretty much maxed out where I want them. I have all the interesting ones, like Bloody Mess. Do you have trouble picking perks? Because it's a pain
the
for me.
perks I pick now are just kind of worthless. I was really excited to get the one that gives you all the locations because I didn't choose that one last time around, so that was kind of a cool one to get.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm just getting stuff just because I can and because you pretty much have to. I mean, you can't not pick a perk, so it's like, you know, I mean, some of them are kind of stupid too, and you get so powerful by the end of the game, a lot of them are pointless. I mean, do I really care about doing an extra 10% of damage on insects, or, you know, do I want to increase my speech with females or something? Like, it doesn't, none of that stuff is really that great. I wish that they, well, you know, I think it's interesting you bring that up because one big complaint that has been leveled against Fallout 3 in general is that they're kind of funneling all players towards creating a super character where you don't really need to specialize. And that hasn't been the case in previous Bethesda games, and that wasn't the case in previous Fallout games. But in Fallout 3, it seems a lot of players are kind of dissatisfied that everybody basically ends up being super powerful. You get so many points that all of your skills, the important ones anyway, are pretty much maxed out, and that nobody really has to specialize in sneaking or in combat because you can pretty much do all of it. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of those perks are kind of, you know, they're okay, but not like anything. There's nothing I'm really working towards, let me put it that way.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the Explorer perk because I when I hit level 21, that's the one I took. and it shows you, that's the one that shows you all the waypoints on your map. And when I got it, it must have revealed close to 80 or 90 locations that I had never visited in the original Fallout 3. And the day after I finished Broken Steel, I was bummed out that I didn't care for it, and I wanted to get my Fallout groove back. So I loaded up the game, and I just randomly picked a location on the map just to see what would happen, just to see what kind of experience I would have there. And I won't go into long details, but I had a great experience. I found this building where a bunch of escaped slaves had holed up, and they let me in for some reason. And they said, "You're not going to turn us in, are you?" And of course, earlier in the game, I had allied myself with the slavers, and I said, "Well, yeah, heck yeah, I'm going to turn you in because you're worth a lot of money." So they all attacked me. And of course, I killed them all within seconds. So I at my feet were the bodies, the corpses of 10 slaves. And as I turned to eat one of them, because of course I'm a cannibal, I see off in the corner the stone head of Abraham Lincoln, which had been stolen from the Lincoln Memorial, which if you visit that site in the game, he doesn't have a head. Well, here I'd found the head. And these escaped slaves had been using it for inspiration. You know, Lincoln freed the slaves, here are escaped slaves, and I killed them all, and I was about to eat them, and what a wonderful moment that was. And I just said, that was one random location that I picked, and there's 80 more out there that I can go explore. And that, I believe, not to be, overexcited about it, but that, I believe, is the magic of Fallout 3. So,
Totally agree. 100%.
You guys are seriously bumming me out now that they have announced all the DLC for the PS3.
Well, if you're going to buy one of them, I would definitely get Broken Steel, because if you're playing through the main game, you are going to hit level 20 before you get to the end. So I think it's worth your while to at least have Broken Steel. You may just be paying $10 to raise the level cap, but frankly, I think it's worth it. No,
I think it'd be worth it too. And like you said, I'd just rather go back to the other locations rather than play the new stuff. Then sounds like.
But you know what, though? I mean, I gotta say, I kind of liked Operation Anchorage. I know that maybe Tim, you weren't too hot on it, but I thought that was kind of cool because it changed the mechanics, and also the loot you get from it is pretty sweet. I gotta say that Predator suit you get is actually kind of worth it, and the stuff you get is nice. So,
right.
Anyway.
The Gauss rifle is sweet. Yeah, Operation Anchorage for the loot. I could take or leave the pit. And we'll see what the other two expansions hold. So let's move on from Broken Steel. One more game we want to discuss, and then we'll take a quick break. Is UFC Undisputed? Do you like your Ultimate Fighting? Chi, I know you like the Ultimate Fighting. You've had a chance to check out. Was it more than the demo? You've played the full game, right?
Yep. The game just came out last week, and been playing through it and doing the career mode and all that. And yeah, I'm sort of a pretty positive thumbs up so far. It is the one thing that's kind of thrown me off so far. And by the way, for those that not in the know, UFC is based on mixed martial arts, and it's sort of the new up and coming sport. Sort of the way John Cusack talked about kickboxing and Say Anything, sport of the future, that sort of thing. But it is much bigger than kickboxing ever was in the States, and and this game is sort of symbolic of that. They went out of their way to create a Madden-like franchise around it, and they gave it that franchise Madden detail approach to it, and I really appreciate that. So that's really cool. The one thing that I am a little bit wondering about right now is the whole. I've been playing it on an easy difficulty level, and I'm only starting out as a rookie fighter. But everything seems to revolve around the stand-up game, and I just really wonder whether anyone's really going to do the submissions or not. And I haven't gone online and played other people yet, but I just really wonder. And the sport itself has gotten a little more what they call striking focus, because there's two parts of it, right? There's striking, and then there's grappling and submissions when it goes to the ground. And when the sport first started, grappling was the huge thing. When Royce Gracie using Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu beat 3 guys in one night, all of them bigger than him, and that's sort of what defined the sport. as the sport's evolved, more down the road, there's more wrestlers have incorporated Muay Thai and, there's a lot of kickboxing, boxing, and it's a more well-rounded game and more emphasis on striking. So I just wonder if anyone's really going to even bother with the grappling, and the grappling is super deep. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, did you get to test the grappling at all on the demo at all, Tim?
I did once I played the tutorial, and I learned how to take somebody down, which is really cool. It's just if somebody's kicking you low, you just push down on the right stick, and it will basically counter it, and you can knock him to the ground. Once I had them on the ground, I wasn't entirely sure what to do, so I just punched the guy in the face until I won the fight, which is very satisfying.
Always a good choice. Yeah,
right.
Always a good choice.
That's what they call the ground and pound, by the way.
Well, I'm an expert at the ground and pound.
Yeah, but even as someone who knows what's going on down there, yeah, it was. I still kind of froze with the controller because there's just so much going on. It's like you really got to take the time to learn all the details of all the positions and everything. But yeah, like I said, they have all the positions represented, but the way the guide walks you, it's almost like you need to go to school on the art of grappling. Really, it's for you to really understand like what's a superior position versus what they call a guard. Like when the guy's wrapped his legs around you, that's called a guard. And if you sort of get around that, there's a side mount and then there's a full mount they call or rear mount, and they sort of don't walk you through any of that.
Doesn't that transition into what is it, like backwards cowgirl or something like that?
I was gonna say, isn't the rear mount how we ended up off for 6 weeks?
Not in my case, although sometimes.
Oh god, yeah, it is. Unfortunately, that's one of the drawbacks of the sport. Yeah, it's kind of gay, dude. All right, but sort of the in joke in the sport is it's not gay if you don't make eye contact. So there you go.
Do you have that shirt, Chi?
No, I should. Yeah, although I don't practice grappling myself anyway, but. No, but once you really understand what's going on, that it's not all the haters out there and all the people that don't really understand the sport. Yeah, they say it's like two guys humping each other, but it's not.
Well, it's funny that you say that because
I actually enjoy UFC and Ultimate Fighting in general, mixed martial arts. I'm not like a hardcore fan or anything like that, but just some of the terms crack me up because I'm 36 going on 11.
Yeah, I think your favorite will be what the other version of what's called north-south position is called? Yes.
East-west?
No. 16 that would be the equivalent of 69.
Lovely.
Which of course they don't say in the actual sport, so that's called north-south, but anyway, yeah.
Lovely.
That's what we call it here at the house.
So we're doing the old north-south tonight, huh? So we won't be procreating tonight. It'll be purely for enjoyment.
God.
Oh man, you guys are killing me here because I'm like totally not representing the sport, man. I'm gonna get hate mail from all the MMA fans.
I think you're representing a sport, maybe not what we're talking about. But.
Chi, let me ask you this because I only played the demo, and when I first played, I didn't know the tutorial was even there. So when they hide it for some reason on the demo menu, but. So I just played an exhibition match, and I didn't realize how much depth there was. I was just playing it as a button masher, and I found it very satisfying as a button masher. There's a really good sense of power and strength to all of the punches and kicks. They make a really nice thud. The controller vibrates at just the right time, and that alone was a very satisfying just fighting game to me. And then I played the tutorial, and good lord, you weren't kidding. There are so many different controller machinations that you can go through to adjust your strength, the height of your techniques, the strength, everything. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I think it's a pretty brilliant thing the developer did, was to make the game enjoyable on two levels. That if somebody just wanted to pick up and play a fighting game, they can do that with no tutelage whatsoever. But then if somebody who really knows the sport, pretty much every option is there available to you.
Right. I mean, and it really is, like you said, things, you can get a knockout in like 20 seconds, and it happens in the real sport, and I think you said that happened to you actually, right?
It did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't familiar with the sport, maybe that would annoy me. Like, God, this only lasted 20 seconds. But to me, it was a realistic depiction of something that happens in the sport. I appreciated that it was there.
Yeah, I mean, and the detail is really, I don't know if I want to call it scratching the surface, but there's actually a lot more detail that they could add to it, which is, of course, I'm sure what the sequel is for. Like, for example, although they have all the positions all properly represented well, the actual styles of fighting is actually kind of limited. Like, they pretty much have all the major ones, boxing, and each fighter has a combination of different striking styles, which would be boxing, Muay Thai, or kickboxing, and then the grappling styles are judo, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. Well, they haven't even thrown in anything like, karate, which, actually just yesterday, Lyoto Machida just won the light heavyweight title, and he's actually incorporating a karate style, which is very rare that you see in the UFC. So, they can continually add more styles to it. I'm trying to think of would there be any other styles.
I played the demo, and to me, it was like a couple dudes in shorts punching and kicking each other, and I wasn't really that fascinated. I grant that there's a lot of technical depth to it, but there wasn't a lot of flash, not a lot of excitement, and watching two guys roll around on the ground and playing that just wasn't quite my cup of tea. I'm sure the UFC aficionados like Chi and you, Tim, will probably get a lot out of it, but man, to me, I don't see myself playing that for very long at all.
Yeah, that's what I feared as well. Like I was just saying that, will people actually bother to go with the depth, and unless maybe when you turn up the difficulty level or you play some experts that really like the grappling side of things, you may never even see it. I've been playing 10, 15 matches and pretty much it's all stand up. I purposely go to the clinch because I think it's a little fun to do that. But beyond that, I've just been keeping it all stand up, but so I wonder, but apparently it's doing pretty well so far. So that's a good sign, I think. I think the reviews have been positive, and I think it's selling well. I'm not sure where I quite read that, but I think it's doing well.
I'm sure this will be one of those things that gets a yearly release like Madden, and I think we're probably seeing the start of a franchise here. So keep us posted, Chi. Let us know.
Sure thing.
I'll be interested to hear what the online game is like once you get into that. So why don't we take a quick break? When we come back, Dead Space and a handful of community games, good ones too. Stay with us.
Well, I'm a mighty man. I'm young and I'm in my prime. Yes, I'm a mighty man. I'm young and I'm in my prime. Well, I don't pick my jobs. I'm ready for any old kind. Yes, I'm a real young
Welcome back. A few more games to talk about. Up next is Dead Space, last year's sci-fi survival horror hit. And to tell us a little bit more about it, let's turn to Mr. Mike Bracken. Mike, tell us about Dead Space.
All right, Tim. Let's discuss some Dead Space. First off, it's kind of interesting to be talking about the game since it's been out for a while, like since late last year, as you mentioned. But since everybody's been off, we've been kind of taking this opportunity, or I know I have anyway, to sort of catch up on a few games that I've missed while I've been playing MMOs and other things. And Dead Space has been in my to play pile for a very long time since actually I bought it when it came out. So this was a nice chance to finally get a chance to play a survival horror game since I am the horror guy. So I'm not quite done with the game. It has 12 chapters, and I'm in chapter 12 as we speak. But so far, I have enjoyed the game. It has a very Event Horizon feel to it. If you ever saw that film, that was also a horror film set in outer space that played sort of like Solaris. But I also have some minor issues with the game as well. So I was just curious, has everybody else played the game, or has anybody else played the game?
I reviewed it for the site.
And I have finished it.
All right, so we've got people to talk about this. How awesome! It's like we almost like we planned it or something. Yeah, so basically, the game revolves. It's a typical survival horror game. You're this engineer on a ship with these crazy monster things because they've mined up an artifact from a planet, and it's turning everyone into monsters. And you have to like make tools. And the game basically plays out with like a lot of fetch missions, or I like to call it the game the worst example of Murphy's Law I've ever seen, because everything that can possibly go wrong in this game does go wrong, and it starts to stretch the suspension of disbelief a little bit as you get further into the game. But if you're looking for something that's kind of scary, there are some genuinely scary moments in Dead Space if you play it in the dark with the surround sound cranked up and everything. So there's definitely that going for it. And I was just, when you guys want to jump in here and, share your thoughts?
Well, I reviewed it for the site, and my take on it wasn't that favorable. I do think that the game starts out really well. I do give it props for that, because it grabs everybody immediately with its visual style, with its polish. I mean, it's easy to really get sucked into that game, but like you said, I mean, the game devolves into fetch questing like really quickly, like immediately, and the tone of it doesn't change. So I got bored of it really, really quick. I mean, I finished it, but it was getting close to torture levels for me to sit through some of those missions, because, like you said, the Murphy's Law thing was ridiculous. Like, the writers couldn't come up with anything besides, oh, hey, the antenna array in the front of the ship broke, go fix it. Oh, hey, the fuel line in the back of the ship broke, get on the train, go back there and fix it. Oh, hey, this and that and the other thing.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, man,
Every time you turn around, something on that fucking ship is broken, and you are tasked with going to fix it. You're an engineer, but apparently you also are capable of fixing anything on a spaceship, because that's what the game has you do. It is definitely crazy. But I think I dug it. My issues were more occasionally, like, I think the thing that bugged me the most were those goddamn monsters you can't kill. I loved running around with that gun with the saw blades and like slicing limbs off things. That was like really great. But don't put me in a room with a monster I can't kill with that control scheme. It's frustrating, and it doesn't really feel fair. And I understand it's a horror game and they're trying to scare you and make you feel, uncomfortable, but at least just give me something that's hard to kill, but don't make it so that I kill it and then it immediately regenerates. That just felt really cheap to me.
I played this game while my wife was recovering from the C-section. So I was only playing it in short bursts, and I think that's the way to play it. I think it's repetitive enough that if you played it in 3 or 4 hour sessions, that the constant running through halls and having monsters jump out of windows and so forth would get very, very repetitive and tedious. But the game is broken up into 12 fairly discrete chapters. Each one is about an hour in length, and I basically played a chapter a night, skipping a night here and there. So over the course of 2.5, 3 weeks, I found it a very, very satisfying experience. The production values are off the charts, and it just, to call it Resident Evil in space, I mean, it is pretty much literally Resident Evil in space. Just about every aspect of Resident Evil has been transferred to this game. And so there aren't a whole lot of original things happening here, but sometimes it's okay, I think, to just have a really refined experience consisting of gameplay elements that aren't terribly original. I think that's totally fine.
Does it surpass Resident Evil in any way at all?
In some ways, but I think what happens there is it's a matter of your personal preference. Like, as much as I love Resident Evil 4, that story is retarded. Okay. I love the game. I love the mechanics. I even like the story in a cheesy, stupid Capcom B-movie sort of way. Dead Space, I think, does a better job of putting you on the spaceship, and maybe it's just because I love Event Horizon so much as a film, but the setting of being on the spaceship the story there, even though it's definitely a B-grade story with a lot of plot inconsistencies, feels much more organic and entertaining than the stories from your typical Resident Evil game. There's no Raccoon City, so that's a plus right off the bat.
I'd say they're about on par. And in some ways I thought Dead Space was even worse because I thought the whole silent protagonist thing didn't work at all for me. I mean, it's like the whole game is people talking at you. You never respond. There's no text choices to choose. I mean, it's like you're this tool that goes back and forth, and you don't have any emotion or any feeling. And when the game finally hits you with some quote-unquote emotional twists, to me, they completely fell flat. I was like, was that supposed to mean something to me? Was I supposed to feel something there? Because I felt squat. You know, it was tedious.
That's definitely interesting because you encounter someone during the course of the game who you should have a reaction to, and then Isaac, the character, doesn't ever say a word when he finds this person that he should, be responding to, which is definitely odd.
I thought that was a weird moment when that person shows up. There's nothing. There's no, dramatic music. There's no reaction whatever. That person just shows
continue
up.
on your friggin' fetch quest. I mean, way to blow the dramatic pacing there, EA, so whatever.
Yeah, that was definitely an issue for me as well. Like, I suspected that's I don't want to spoil the story, but I suspected it was going to go one way, and then it didn't go that way, even though I kept thinking it was, and part of it was because the writing in those particular scenes seems kind of shoddy, and so you're like, okay, he's not reacting, so maybe this means something else, but apparently it doesn't, unless it's at the very end that I haven't seen yet, so.
Yeah.
No, not really.
I've seen a lot of comparisons to BioShock, and I think that's probably a pretty ambitious connection to be making. I mean, a lot of the story is told by, what you see happening on the ship and through audio and video logs, but the story is very much just what you see on the surface. An ancient evil has been awoken, and only you can restore it to its prison. Blah blah blah.
And by the way, can we just put a message out to all developers out there now and just fucking drop the audio, video, and text logs.
Yes.
Play through any more goddamn games where every single thing that I'm doing has to stop so that I listen to these logs. And don't tell me you don't have to stop, because I realize you can play them and keep doing something, but you can't shoot monsters and look for keys and listen to the thing at the same time. So you have to really, if you're going to listen, you got to listen. And it's like, it's just the most completely cumbersome, ineffectual, stupid, pointless, completely dramatically lazy way of telling a story I've ever seen. Yeah. And so many developers are using that as their go-to crutch. I am just fucking sick to death of it.
I would rather have Xenosaga's 15, 20-minute cutscenes to tell a story than to spend another 12 hours running through a game where I have to fucking answer phones to check messages or pick up things that are conveniently laying in boxes that tell the story for me or any of that. Just let me watch a 15-minute cutscene and tell me the story that way, because this new method sucks.
Yeah, show it, don't tell it, seriously. I do not want any more games to do it this way, because this fucking blows.
Chi, to go back to your question, ways that Dead Space is superior to Resident Evil, I will give you two additional ones. One is the weapon selection. I think the basic weapon in Dead Space was the plasma cutter, which is essentially a pistol with 3 laser sights that can be adjusted either horizontally or vertically, depending on what type of limb you're shaving off. I think as a basic weapon, that's probably one of the most satisfying basic weapons of any game I've ever played. I think it's just fantastic. I would play the whole game with that plasma cutter if I wanted to, and probably the next time I play the game, if I do, I probably will. The second way would be navigation. One of my biggest pet peeves about Resident Evil 4, I haven't played 5 yet, but 4, was constantly going to the map screen to figure out where I was supposed to be going. Dead Space has the exciting new, and a lot of games are incorporating this now, push down on the right stick and it just points a blue line in the direction where you're supposed to go, so that I don't have to go to the map screen every 10 seconds, taking me out of the gameplay. I love that feature. I want every game like this to have it. I think Tomb Raider should have it. The new Prince of Persia has it. I want it everywhere.
Yeah, those are actually both really good points, especially because in Dead Space with the maps, when you go to them, sometimes they're more than one floor, so it helps you instead of having to try to figure out, well, is that on the floor I'm on, or do I have to go up somewhere? You can just follow this blue line, and the downside is it doesn't make the game too easy, because if you just follow the blue line, you're going to miss a bunch of boxes and ammo and power nodes and stuff like that. And I would definitely agree on the plasma cutter. I would play the whole game using that. I spent all my nodes upgrading that gun. Mm-hmm. I just wish that the random ammo drops there was some way to control them instead of having to spend money on the ammo. Like, I would want to use the cutter, and I would keep getting, ammo for the crossbow thing or something, or the blade gun. So, and I'd not have any, plasma cutter ammo. But other than that, yeah, it's a decent game. It's not a great game, but I'm interested in playing, another game in the franchise.
Well, that was my next question, was going to be, so you're down for the sequel then?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking out the sequel. I think I'd like to definitely see them work towards improving some things, but I think there's a solid enough foundation there. It doesn't do anything that we haven't seen in a bazillion other survival horror games, but at the same time, it's sort of a refined experience. If you get past the endless array of fucking fetch quests and stuff, the actual combat is very satisfying, and it does have some creepy moments.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we have the Wii version of this game, which I think it's an on-rails shooter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely an on-rails shooter.
So that'll be the next entry in the series, and then Dead Space 2 sometime in the future. Maybe we'll see something at E3. So that's Dead Space. Let's move on for our final topic tonight, a few new community games, and Brad is the internet's premier commentator on Xbox Live community games. I turn to you for this next section. Take it away, Brad.
Thank you, Tim. There's been a couple really, really good community games out recently, and it seems like nobody in the world plays community games except for like me and maybe like one other guy somewhere on a different continent. So I really want to get awareness up for community, because a lot of these games are built by really, really small teams. And in fact, as we speak, I'm actually compiling a best of community feature, and I've been in contact with a lot of these developers, and I think people would be really shocked at what good projects are coming out of just 1, 2, and even 3-man teams. I mean, it's amazing what these guys are getting done with nowhere near the budget or the resources that bigger studios have. So anyway, the 3 games I wanted to talk about today were Trino, Cave-In, and Mithra. The first one, Trino, it's a kind of an action/puzzler. You play the role of a little, I want to say it's like a tadpole fish thing, alien, whatever.
It's a sperm. It's a sperm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sperm.
Jeez, we just cannot get our heads out of the gutter this episode, man.
Anyway, so you play this blue sperm with a red eye, and you're in these different shaped levels. What happens is your creature has the ability to make little traps. You set a little waypoint on the field, and then you have to make a triangle. And if you trap an enemy creature inside that triangle, it gets destroyed. And you have to make your way through I think it's like 40 different levels. The pace of it is really quick. The controls are really smooth. The production levels are really high. The action is just really satisfying. And the concept is really good, too. You haven't really played anything quite like this. And I had a pretty good time playing it. I think that team was composed of, I believe, 6 people. And I think that Trino has won also a couple of awards. They're all graduates of some university or another. I'll have more information in the feature itself. But Trino is actually definitely worth a look. So I really enjoyed that. Tim, did you have a chance to play Trino?
I did, and I ended up buying it. So thank you for the recommendation. What struck me, or really the first thing I thought of as I played through the game, was that this would make a fantastic game mode in the next Geometry Wars. Because
I was gonna reference Geometry Wars as well.
Yeah, I mean, it really would be perfect as a game mode, and you could be playing for a high score, and I think it would fit in really well. The game really feels like they're auditioning for the next Geometry Wars game. I thought it was fantastic. I think the production values are first rate. The music kind of ramps up as the difficulty gets greater. I liked that the ships, your ability to set traps kind of evolves as you go through the game, so you can set more than triangles. Once you've set a triangle, you can add additional geometric shapes to form chained combos, and so there's a bit of strategy to it that way. For me, the ultimate test in this type of game is, do you get into the zone? And I totally got into the zone with this, where my hands just kind of played it all by itself, and I didn't have to think about it, and it was really, really satisfying. It's certainly something that I could see being on Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah, definitely. Trino Team is what they're calling themselves, the people who made this game. They really had themselves in the right mind frame. They really knew what they were doing, and I believe that's a $5 download. Totally worth it. I think it's totally worth it. Tim, you agree?
Oh, absolutely. No question. No question. I would recommend it to anyone.
So that is definitely one to track down. The next one on Community is called Cave In Miner Rescue Team. Miner as in someone who digs in a tunnel and, searching for gems or coal or whatever. I actually just spoke to the developer of this game today, and I was stunned, knocked on my ass to find out that this game was put together by this one guy. One guy made this game. I could not believe it, because this game is of such high quality and of such strong design. I mean, it was amazing. This guy is a really talented guy. Johnny Death Games is his website, I believe. But anyway, Cave In is about a series of puzzles. Like each screen is a puzzle unto itself, and so you play a miner, and there are different colors of boulders, and you want to make matches to clear your path. But it's not as simple as that. I mean, it's not a straight across puzzle game. It's puzzle, but it's also action, and there's also a really wide variety of puzzle types in the game. So in some levels, you jump onto a cannon that shoots boulders, and you're kind of shooting them into a field. There's another one where you're pushing them around, so it's kind of like The Adventures of Lolo or something like that, if you're old enough to remember that game. There's dark levels. There's levels where the tiles fall away. There's a really, really strong variety, and the game is surprisingly substantial. I'm still playing it now, and I expected the game to be over hours ago. But there's a ton of levels, and it's entertaining all the way through. Like, there's enough variety and enough innovation in the design that, I mean, the guy who developed this hasn't really gone back to the well, like, even twice. I mean, each level builds upon itself, and they get harder, and the progression of the difficulty is really great. I mean, it's just a fantastic game. I've got nothing but good things to say about Cave In. Tim, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit too. I typically think of this genre of game as one that I would play on a portable. So I was immediately my first impression was this is like Boxel, the old Game Boy moving boxes around game, and there's an element of Boxel to it, but there's much more to it than that, as you said. The sort of top-down puzzle genre, something like I was also reminded of Chip's Challenge on the old Atari Lynx, if anybody remembers that. Yeah. I did not end up buying this. I may still do so, especially now that you've said there's so much more to the game than what you see in the 8-minute demo. But if this was on the DS, I would pay $20 for this game immediately. But this just isn't the type of game I typically play or look for on a console. It's the kind of thing I would pop open the DS for, play a few levels, and then shut it down. So I'm wavering as to whether I'm going to buy it or not, but if you have any interest in this type of game, absolutely check out Cave In, because I think it's one of the best examples of its type.
But my problem is exactly what you guys have sort of said there, as far as all these puzzle games you guys are throwing out there, that it felt kind of really derivative, and when I appreciate the fact that each stage, he puts a lot of thought into it, and it's kind of satisfying when you figure it out, and so that's kind of cool. But the only issue I had with it overall is that when I play community games, I kind of want like some really original, fresh content and a different take on it, sort of more like Trino. And to me, the problem with Cave In, it just felt too derivative. They had it's like all those games you mentioned. It's every puzzle game you can almost imagine. The shooting portions play like Puzzle Bobble, Chip's Challenge, Boxel. You have to match the boulder colors, so that's like Bejeweled. It's just, so that was kind of a bit of a downer to me, and I kind of wasn't too. I understand it's one guy, but I just wasn't down with the art style as well. It was just kind of a little bit too Not my cup of tea, I guess. But yes, that's my take on it.
Well, I've spent I think 4 or 5 hours playing it, and I do agree that like it's clear to see that there are influences from other games and other titles in the puzzle genre. But still, I was really, really, really impressed with the level of production, with the quality of the puzzles, with the quality of the overall design. I just was blown away. I mean, I bought the full version, and I do not regret it a bit. And in fact, as soon as I'm done recording this podcast, I'm going to go back and play some more. So it's certainly something, Tim, like you said, that would be perfect on a handheld. But at the same time, with my son Whitaker around, sometimes I only get like 20 or 30 minutes. If I'm lucky to play, I don't get the 4-hour stretches anymore. So in that particular case, if I know he just took a nap, I can run up and do 3 or 4 levels of Cave In real quick, and then feel like I got something done. So it fits for me in that context. But overall, nothing but positive to say. I totally recommend anybody who even remotely likes the demo to buy the full version, because there's a lot more in the full version than what you see in the demo.
How many stages were there in general overall?
I'm up to World 7-2, and there's multiple stages in each world. I mean, I think I don't even know how many, but I've played 4 or 5 hours, and I haven't really redone any levels. I mean, I've just made forward progress the whole time. So it's substantially larger than the average community game. I was actually very shocked to see how much content was in there for $5. I mean, this guy, pretty amazing. I fully intend to do an interview with this guy in the near future.
All right. Well, Brad, I think you owe it to yourself to do a quick shout out to another community game, and that's Mithra, because you actually played a part in the newest version of this, didn't you?
Yeah, that's true, and I was a little bit surprised. But Mithra is it's an adventure. That's adventure with a capital A. It's kind of like a point and click, similar to kind of like a Leisure Suit Larry or Tim. What would you say it's similar to?
Oh, I would say any of the old Sierra adventure games. You'll totally get that vibe from that.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. You're a character. You're an alien, and you wake up in a lab facility, and you don't know what's going on, and you meet up with another alien, and the two of you team up to escape the lab. It's the first of, I believe it's 5 planned segments, so it's episodic from the get-go, and the developers, A-Fiction Games, are pretty good about telling that to you. But it's a really good game. The production levels on it are really high. The graphics are good. They've got voiceovers. It's a really, really well done game. It's a little on the short side, but it's always better to leave you wanting more than to, make a player sick of it before it's over. Or that's the way I feel about it anyway. But at one point in the game, when I played the original version, there was a puzzle that you needed to listen to a series of musical chimes in order to get through a particular locked door. And in the process of talking to the development team and interviewing them, I had mentioned to them that, at Game Critics, we put a lot of effort towards highlighting auditory issues for people with hearing impairments. So I guess those people are probably not listening to the podcast. But if you're listening to the podcast and you know someone who has hearing impairment, tell them about it. Anyway, so I mentioned to them that puzzle would be literally impossible for anyone who had a hearing impairment to pass, because the tones were randomly generated, so you couldn't look them up on an FAQ, and there was no visual on it, so you couldn't, see what was happening on the screen. And if you were deaf or hard of hearing, you were basically screwed. I mean, your game stopped right there. So I talked to them about it, and they were really, really cool. I mean, they said that it hadn't occurred to them that would be an issue. We talked about it for a few minutes, and they just recently put out an updated version of the game with some additional content like achievements and some unlockables and stuff like that. But the thing that they added also was they added new visual cues for that puzzle. So because I had mentioned to them about the issue of the sound, they totally revamped the puzzle. They put in some colors and shapes that you see when the puzzle happens. And so now anybody who has a hearing impairment can get through that section very easily. So I really want to give massive, massive kudos to A-Fiction Games for, number one, for hearing me out on it, first of all, because there's a number of developers out there who say, oh, that's great, but we don't have the time or the resources. So they took the time to do that, and for number two, for actually doing it, because, there are definitely gamers out there who have problems hearing, and to lock them out of a game that's as fun and as cool as Mithra is would be really a shame. So major, major props to A-Fiction Games for doing that. So, and it's also a really fantastic game. If you haven't played Mythra yet, definitely check it out.
Yeah, I had a great time with it, and we mentioned it's awfully short. When it ended, I said, that can't be it. I want to play more, and so hopefully episode 2 will come out soon. And regarding that puzzle, I have perfect hearing, and I could not get past that puzzle to save my life. So I'm glad I did eventually, but I'm glad they finally they listened to your advice. So kudos to you, kudos to them. And that'll do it for those community games, and that'll do it for episode 15 of the GameCritics.com podcast. Remember, you can download us from the iTunes Music Store, and maybe if Zune puts us up this week, we'll be up on the Zune Marketplace as well. Sometimes we're there, sometimes we aren't. Who knows? It's a crapshoot, but you can also listen live on the Game Critics homepage, and that's also where you can leave a comment on our podcast thread. There, you can also sign up for our Twitter feed. The name is Game Critics. Leave questions and comments, thoughts, suggestions, hopes, and dreams. Gentlemen, thank you as always. Good to be back in the saddle with you.
Yep. Hey, Brad, thanks for mentioning Leisure Suit Larry again. We seem to have some kind of streak going on with that game. We just can't stop mentioning that game. It's like every episode, it's in the notes.
We should get Al Lowe to be on the podcast. I'm sure that he would have tons of interesting stories that we could talk about. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
And hey, Chi, good luck with impregnating your wife. Keep us posted for sure.
Will do.
All right. Mike, good luck staying warm and cuddly.
Oh, thank you. I will do my best.
All right. Well, Brad, let's go feed our kids. Time
Absolutely.
to shut it down. Time to shut it down, folks. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Please don't make any more.
Podcasts or babies?
Babies.
All right.
I can't take any more 6-week breaks.
All right.
No promises, man. No promises.
I gotta keep working, man. If you guys are gonna have these long breaks, this is just gonna kill me. This is my outlet.
Word.
All right. That's a deal. We're done. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.